everybody. Welcome.
Not tonight. Must be an interesting topic.
Just a couple of reminders before we get started. Please silence your phones. Let's do the Pledge of Allegiance first. All right, please stand. Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. No, I can talk. I feel better.
We got a couple of folks. Do we have enough chairs for Fred and Marion?
Front row seat?
There you go. We got to sit in front.
Okay. Just a couple of housekeeping items. Yeah, okay. A couple of items. Make sure you silence your phones, please, before we get started. Our bank balance is $2,252.58. Yay, us. And we have 53 members.
Martha?
Yes, 4 more. Yay! Woo, thank you. Excellent. Go, Mary. Good job.
Ever since we put her on commission, we seem to
Amazing. Excellent. And if you haven't renewed your membership, please do so if you can tonight before you leave. And if you haven't signed in, please sign in. Very important. Watch the cord. We've always got the cord problem, so please be very careful. Watch the cord. And I'd like to say thank you to Jonah and Cindy from PAC-B TV. And let's see. Your membership. That's it. And now, we're on to tonight's presenter, our very own Trish Hester, who's going to talk about monument restoration at our cemeteries. Yay!
Thank you. Hi, everyone. I'd like to also introduce my friend Judy Durling, who's going to kill me for drawing attention to her, but Judy has done a lot of research on a lot of the monuments that we have been cleaning, and she may pop in and add a few things if I forget to tell you something. But she's also, her great-grandfather, right? One great, is in this slide presentation, and I think you'll get a kick out of this. It kind of connects to a trip that Judy and I took through Atlas Preservation on the 48 state tour to learn how to clean and preserve headstones. And so we went to Windsor, Connecticut, and Judy has family in Windsor, Connecticut.
Ninth great-grandfather.
Ninth great-grandfather. So really, really neat that we could connect that to all of this that was happening too. And it just was a fluke that we happened to see this opportunity to go for training. It happened to be there. And when I called her, she goes, I've got a grandfather there, let's go. So we did. And we learned an awful lot.
In one day.
Down and back in a day, because we're a little nuts. I will go through the presentation a little bit, and then afterwards, I brought some of my cleaning supplies with me, and we can talk about those. You can, see what we're working with, and ask any questions that you have. If you have any questions in the middle of this, feel free to speak up. You don't have to wait till the end.
You want lights on?
I'm gonna turn the lights off. Yeah. Now let's hope that all of my, do we need to close this? Oh no, that's half lights on there. Oh, okay, here we go. So this picture obviously should be familiar to most of us that have been at Riverview. If you catch me calling it Riverside, that's because I've spent most of my time in the old Riverside portion of the cemetery. But I love this picture. It was the most beautiful day in the fall, and the colors were just so vibrant. And I saw this quote just the other day, and I thought it really spoke to my heart, because you don't get involved in doing work like this unless somewhere a piece of your heart goes with it. And I think it's so important walking through the cemetery, not just this one, but every cemetery that I've been through. And when you see stones that you can't read, and it's like those people have been lost to time and the elements. And so what can we do to make sure that that doesn't happen? Can't wave a magic wand. A little bit of elbow grease and some magic cleaner does the trick, but you know, in some cases, it's too late, you can't read them. And I have an example in here. So how did I get started with this whole cemetery business, if you will? This is my original house on Grove Street in the Village. I lost this house in 2006 to a fire. And this house was my heart and soul. I knew that the minute the realtor pulled up in front, I looked at her, I said, I don't even need to go inside, this is my home. This is my home. And I was able to purchase that home in 1997. And what I found that was unique and original is these 2 stone hitching posts. I'll try to do this thing here and over here. That's a close-up, the big one there, of what they look like after I've cleaned them a little bit too. But the rust on the ring of them, it's hard to keep rust off. So that's how I got involved. But there's more to it than that. Well, information on the Blanchard family. So that house was owned by the Blanchard family. First Sidney Blanchard, then James J. Blanchard, who started the monument business, Blanchard Monument Works, in Baldwinsville. And then he passed that on to George Blanchard. So do we have anybody from the Blanchard family in the audience? Anybody know them? If you do, well, if there's anybody in the family that I would love to connect with them, because yeah, it's quite the history. I've been trying to document this with Judy, but I'll tell you, there's a lot of James J. Blanchards, James R. Blanchard, J-A-Y, J, period, Blanchard. There's 2 Sidney Blanchards. There's a lot of Blanchards, and that's a hard one to document. But this I found was interesting. So the funeral of James Blanchard, he lived in my old house, 24 Grove Street, for the longest period of time. But what I want to draw your attention to is this piece. Whoops, wait a minute, hold on. Not behind the wheel here. This piece up here. He's quite the storyteller. So when he was 86 years old, if those of you can't read it, I'll read it to you. In 1933, Mr. Blanchard told the Gazette that it was on April 8th of 1872 that he came into Baldwinsville on horseback on a stormy, wintry day with 4 feet of snow on the ground. Can you picture this? Like, I can picture the whole thing, right? Yeah, and he took over half interest from Gabriel Chase in the monument business. So that was kind of the start of his business. This was a surprise when we purchased the house. This is Elijah White, and he's not buried there. But this was literally up against the stone foundation of the house. And you'll see also on, whoops, I did it again. Over here, this is another tablet stone that was upside down. We didn't know that there was any writing on it or what it was. And this stone back here is another one. That was James Osborne, and it's more of a footstone, if you will. So when we started to look at the possibility of recoating the driveway, I said, I don't want to lose these marble stones. And I had already tried to research Elijah, but hadn't found much at that point in time. When we flipped this other stone over, it was a full tablet stone. Unfortunately, we cracked it because they're very fragile. So this is a portion of those stones that I took pictures of this last November. So this one, Tryphena Horton, is aunt to Elijah and Harold White. So this is Elijah. This is the one that was right next to the house foundation. And then this is Harold's, and this is the rest of it, which was cracked in half because, 2 idiots are trying to move a headstone, didn't know what we were doing. So Tryphena, I did not find this stone until last November when I went to build a pole barn out back. And they're out there with a skid steer thing trying to level stuff out. I said, stop, there's a stone there. And when we flipped it over, this stone actually doesn't show as well in the picture. it looks like it's fresh cut. It is so crisp and clean. So, of course, we did a lot of research on where is the White family. Like, I kind of thought maybe if they were buried in my backyard, I would get a tax exemption for being a cemetery. But that wasn't the case. They're all out on Belle Isle Cemetery. And actually, that whole family plot is real close to the road, right between the first and second entrance. So if you drive down to Belle Isle, you'll see them. And all their names are inscribed on stones there. So this brings another question. On this stone, right above here, it's like where the border goes all the way around the stone, it goes down a little further here and over. So that's what we're seeing here. Right underneath that border, it says I. Stanton, Syracuse, New York. Like, well, who's I. Stanton? So it was another rabbit hole we fell down. And we'll find out who I. Stanton is. So when Judy and I started cleaning stones in earnest, I was on the lookout for the Blanchard Monument. I wanted to find out where they were. And I found them. At the time, I didn't know how to read the map of the cemetery. So this is Sidney Blanchard's stone. And it was pretty dark when we started out. I have on a picture board up here, you'll see before and after of this, but this is an even more recent picture. 3 years ago, I was out back with a crew putting up a fence in my yard. And they dug down pretty far, and it was out back where a previous carriage house had burned down years ago. And all of a sudden they hit something. This is what they hit. Guy pulled it up out of the hole. He goes, this is what we keep hitting. And I was astonished. Well, there are broken pieces and used pieces of stone all over my property. Never did I think we'd be pulling a cross out from 3 feet down. And it even had the charcoal timbers from that carriage house that had burned down. So sounds like fire's not good for 24 Grove Street. So this next picture is kind of a mess because, as you can see, we're in the middle, like there's fence posts and no fence put up there. I had everything torn apart last summer in the yard. But these marble stones, these are actual marble curbing that would have been used like in a family lot in a cemetery. And so there's more that's not marble. There's actually limestone too on the property. And then when I was digging over at the library one night, I found this article. And it's from 1960. And it's a property on Division Street. And they found the matching tablet stone. And this one is for, I believe it's Joseph. Yeah, Joseph White. So I believe he is dad to the other Whites that I showed you. But interesting that not far from Grove Street, now we find this stone. And it was quite the to-do based on what this article said on finding a headstone in your backyard. So imagine my surprise with all the headstones I found.
Are you sure there wasn't a cemetery there?
Yes, so I'll tell you. There's another stone, and we'll see it further on. It's a double tablet stone for 2 little girls. And that we also found with the skid steer. But what happened is one of the guys that was helping build fell right up to his armpits into the ground. And Jack Scalise, who was my builder, hauled him out. Like, it happened so fast, I didn't even see him go down this hole. But, you know me, I got to go find out what's going on. And I thought, well, I go out, he's okay, everybody's okay, but there's a hole in the ground. And so Jack's laying on his belly looking in the hole. I get down on my belly and I'm crawling like I'm on ice, right? To look down this hole. And it was a root cellar. And this root cellar, the timbers were not actually timbers. They were pieces of limestone, like the curbing, that were holding it up, and they were running across the top. And then they had used broken stones to cover it all up and make a floor. Probably over the first carriage house that burned down. So there was nothing in there. There weren't any animals even. Like, I expected animals because they like to crawl on the other side of the hill, and I thought they've got to be going somewhere. It would have been a nice apartment for them. Thankfully, nobody was there. But yeah, and we know where these people are buried. So these are just stones. What we don't know is, were they stones that were replaced because they wanted one big family stone with everybody's name on it, and then everybody got footstones? That's what it looks like to me. It was not unusual for stones to be replaced in that manner, but no remains down there. It's all good. So I. Stanton, Syracuse, is actually Sidney Stanton, who was a marble cutter, and he owned I. Stanton, Syracuse with his brother Isaac. So we found this picture of Sidney and some information on stones in Evergreen Cemetery and Morrisville. So as soon as the snow is melted, I'll be putting my rain boots on and dragging Judy through the cemeteries with me again, because we have to go see them, right? I thought that was an interesting piece that I did not expect to find. I tried finding I. Stanton and couldn't find it, but Judy found it. And then, oh, this was the tall tale, James Blanchard, telling his story about going through 4 feet of snow. So this was just general information that we found on Syracuse marble works. So the Blanchard family obviously did business with the Stanton family with getting, securing stone to be cut. But Isaac Stanton died at age 35 in a gunpowder explosion on the Erie Canal. Yeah, Oswego Canal? Yeah. So, yeah. So this is Orrin Filer, and this is Judy's great-grandfather, and what he's hauling right here is limestone. And when you think about, take a look at how this wagon is really, swaying a little bit. These guys did a lot of work, I'm sure. I hope they were fed well. We don't know whether this was directly from his quarry or, yeah.
I found that I haven't documented it, but I have indications to me is that he had a quarry off of Split Rock Road, which would have been adjacent to the Split Rock big quarry, the Jamesville quarry, Sully Semi quarry.
I can't imagine how they loaded this or unloaded it or got them up and down the hills in some of the cemeteries. And I'm thinking just the Mohegan Monument in our cemetery it's actually 2 big pieces of limestone. It's not one piece, it's 2 big pieces. And it's pretty interesting. Next time you go through for a stroll through there, take a look. So, rules of the process. And this is where I think, well-meaning people get themselves into a little bit of trouble. We always have to ask permission before we clean headstones. If they don't belong to us, we need to ask permission, either from the owner or from that cemetery. And certain cemeteries have rules different than others, so it's always good to make sure that people know what you're doing and that you know what you're doing. Do no harm. I think that goes without saying, but be safe is pretty big. Checking stones for stability. If you touch that stone and it wobbles a little bit, walk away. Do not touch it. Watch where you walk. There's holes, there's bees' nests in the ground, there's all kinds of tripping hazards. So, really look at where you're going. There was somebody thought that they were going to drive around my car when I was over here filming and drove right over some old stones. Not stones, but lots, shall we say. We don't know if they have concrete vaults in there or if they're old wood caskets. So any amount of weight could, drop you a couple of feet without knowing what you're doing. And we don't want to disturb who's there, but we also don't want to hurt anybody that's living. No metal brushes or scrapers, no bleach, no Comet, no other household cleaning supplies. I put a little star on there because a gentle dish soap isn't going to hurt anything, but that would be about it. I have seen people with bleach and with Comet scrubbing like mad. Spick and span was another thing that people used to use, not recommended. And then don't attempt repairs unless you are qualified. I've seen a lot of repairs that were done with like concrete mixed up, trying to put stones back in slotted bases. And we need to use pointing mortar for that. Repairs where maybe a stone may have cleaved off halfway down the middle, you know, whether it's on maybe it's tipped because it's on a hill and then the weight of the stone is pulling it, it breaks it. It looks like, and I can't say this for certain, but the repair that was done looks like it was done with liquid nails. Like, yeah, it's not going to last. And so there are things for that, and there are monument companies that will help with that. So here are some of the before and afters. And this little lady, we had done the Blanchard stone, and we had claimed some of our veterans' stones. And before we get into this, anybody have any idea how many Revolutionary War veterans we have over here in Baldwinsville? Except you, Judy, you know. 11. 11. There are 11 Revolutionary War veterans. And so I happened to be cleaning one of those stones, John Herrick, and Dolly, little Dolly Potter, was near him. And I thought, well, that's got to be a child stone. It's small in stature, but you really couldn't see much of it. Like this lamb, you couldn't really tell it was a lamb. So I cleaned it. I used D2 biologic solution and cleaned it. And this is what it looked like about, I want to say, a year later. Maybe 8 months later. And then that's the back of her stone over here. And it still looks as good today as it did, you know, once it was all cleaned up. So this solution, what it does is it takes all these biologics. So you look here, we've got a little bit of moss, we've got some lichen, all of that, and some molds. All of that will come off a little bit at a time with this solution without damaging the stone. Here's Captain Bailey Smith. And it's actually J. Bailey Smith. It's Jarvis is his first name. And he was quite the war hero. I do have 2 different stories that I found on him. So one is that he had gone out to war, had been captured, had an arm shot off, escaped, went back out to war. Another one is that he was out fighting. He had lost that arm. He came home, he was doing well, and then he got sick afterwards. So I don't know which story is true. But the stone is absolutely beautiful. And a lot of the monuments that we have in our area are imported marble. And where they're imported from, Italy. I have reason to believe that this is probably one of them. So if we're looking at this, all these little things here all have like little divots in them, little cups like that would hold water. Up in through here, you can't even tell what the detail is. It's very strange that the stone itself stayed fairly clean, but the other marble didn't. And I'm thinking that marble's from 2 different sources. And this is one of his siblings over here. So here this is after we've cleaned it. It's missing the urn on the top. What's left of there is pretty loose. But I think we need to leave it where it is. It'll at least keep the water out. There's a pin holding it in there. And if you look closely, and I'll try to do this without making people dizzy, see all these little holes? Little holes here, little holes here? Those are drainage holes. And so this stone, without having those holes, most likely would have cracked in the wintertime with, freeze thaw. So that's one side of his stone. Here's the other side. It is the most beautiful, elaborate stone. A lot of what we're seeing down here at the bottom is moss. That comes off fairly easy, believe it or not, once it's got a little D2 on it. But then what we're seeing up here is a lot of lichen and mold. And that took a little bit of time. But hard to tell, again, what this was. And we were cleaning the stone together, and, either one of us were getting squirted from the other side by, I think Judy got the worst of the deal. But we cleaned the stone and went back to look, and I was astonished at the difference. You could see all of the detail of sword, arrows, all of the detail. And this is Benjamin Lovelace. Couldn't read his name at all. Couldn't really tell what this was. And so I used bamboo skewers and very carefully cleaned out all those crevices. And this is what he looks like now. Some of this, it's just time and the elements, it's wearing it away. But some of these natural plants that we have will kill a stone. And, you know, we don't think of stones being porous, but they are. So it's important if we can keep them cleaned up. I don't know how much cleaner that stone will get, but we can read it now. And then next to him is his wife, Electra Parlin. And her stone does need a little bit of work. It is not quite square. So I broke my own rules in cleaning it. But it was important to me that I got it clean, so I was very careful. You can't even tell that there was any lettering up here at all. So again, moss up at the top, more lichen, more mold, and then there she is all cleaned up. And since it says my sister, I'm assuming her sister probably purchased the stone for her. There's another stone next to it that is broken in half. And I haven't like separated it to see what it says on the inside. It's got like written sides or like facing each other, but we'll find out if that's her sister. And I think that stone can be repaired. And this stone, it's a newer stone. And normally the work that I've been doing over here, I mostly stay in the old yard and then the riverside portion of the cemetery. But there are still a lot of older stones that are, you know, in the newer side, the Riverview side. This one happens to be right behind the building. And I parked to the other side of the building and I was walking over to the old yard and I saw this and I thought, I don't even know who these are. I don't know who they are. So I sprayed it with D2, went back a couple weeks later, sprayed it with just plain water and started to scrape it with a rubber scraper and plastic scraper. And then took, again, a skewer and cleaned out all of this, like this is a fine line in here, all the lettering and everything. It looks even better now that we've had some more moisture in the air, because that D2 solution will keep working after you've cleaned the stone. And then here's another one, and they're neighbors to the previous one that I just showed you. Couldn't read a thing, and I thought, I'm sorry, I know this is a more modern stone. I can't leave it like this. We can't leave it where somebody can't see, who's there. And so that turned out pretty well, I thought. And then our darling Hattie, William Harrison R. Myers. This is a little tiny obelisk. And when you drive in to the right of the building, he's on the right-hand side, next to, I believe, an uncle. And this little stone, when you see the little ones, forget it. I am a mess crying. So I had to take care of him, and I did. And interesting that he has roses up here, and we have some symbolism that I'll show you later in the slides of what all these different symbols mean on stones. So this is the Howe family, and this picture is a little bit on the blurry side, but I think you get the idea of how bad it was. And then here is Eli Howe. I didn't think that stone would come clean, and Judy sat down in front of it and started working with D2, and in a matter of time, this is what we got, which is amazing. They look like brand new stones. And when you think of how long they've been there, 1863, it's a long time. One of the things that I found interesting about this is if you look at this base and look at the way that it's cut, this is limestone. And it's cut in a certain way that almost looks like a sidewalk would be, where, like they put the edge around the part that isn't slippery. So this is kind of pebbly in here, and the rest is smooth. And if you see right here, you can see a line very faintly. That's called a wash. And what that does is it pitches where the rest of the monument sits so that the outer edge of that base is a little bit lower, and it allows the water to drain off. And typically, when these stones are placed, probably in each corner here, and then the other two corners, there's a little piece of lead, and it looks like it's a square. It's like maybe a 1-inch square of lead that is put down on those corners, and it allows the stones to sit with an adhesive or fixative of sorts, depending on who did it and how, without all of that smashing out of the stone. So it allows that adhesive to stay in there, and it kind of helps self-level it. And this is the Harrington family. So this is interesting because it's on the other side of the cemetery. It's the Riverview portion of the cemetery. And it's near the Blanchard Monument. So is that Ford? Is that Ford Street? I think that's Ford Street. Believe it or not, this is a white marble monument. And the base on this is limestone. And I think this is all Onondaga limestone. I'm quite sure. So when you start cleaning with a stone that looks like this, you start to get a little bit of this orangey blush, and that is the biologic solution breaking down all of the organics that are on the stone. So it almost works like leaves changing color in the fall. They're going to change color and then they're going to fall off, and that's what this does. I will tell you, I was out there in, I think it was October, and I thought, I've got enough left in a bottle, and I've been using 2 different solutions. I've used D2, I use Endurance Gravestone and Monument Cleaner. Both are very good. Both are very effective, and both are very safe. And they're safe for our groundwater and animals, so that's even more important. I was out there and I thought, I'm going to spray that stone down. So I went and I sprayed it. And I had a lot of spray left, and I thought, to heck with it, I'm just going to spray it all here. I've done everybody else I wanted to do. We were getting toward the end of the season. I went back 3 days later, and it looked like somebody spray painted the entire monument with orange, like Rust-Oleum, like rusty Rust-Oleum primer. I thought I was getting a heart attack. I thought, don't even tell me somebody sprayed this monument. Then I went over and I looked, and I got a little bit closer, and I'm like, get a spray bottle out, got the spray bottle out of the car, sprayed it down a little bit, and it started to run. And this is exactly what it looks like. It's frightening, but this stuff works great. And just as an aside, this part of the cemetery, if you haven't been over there, whoops, go back. If you haven't been over there, this grass, I don't know what kind of grass it is. I had to take my shoes off and walk barefoot through it because it feels like a carpet, like a really good high-end carpet. It's beautiful. So I'll have to find out. Well, it's Tom, maybe he knows. But it's kind of neat because the rest of the cemetery is not like that. So we talk about what the elements can do to stones. And if you can't read this, it's John McCary. And Lydia is on the other side of the stone. And these are their original stones. I don't know which one is which. You can't read them at all. This stone has fallen apart a little at a time. You can see a piece over here. There's several pieces where it's just cracking and falling off due to the weather. And this one, can't tell anything that's on it. I will tackle, this is a granite stone. I'm not sure what these are. They may be limestone. I'm not sure. But this is not a stone that I would touch with a brush. Maybe just to spray and walk away. But this one certainly, I will take care of cleaning, especially as we're coming up on, 250 years in the country. And there's a lot that goes with that. So be on the lookout for that. And this is for anybody that's looking for this stone. If you are, if you're on Tappan Street and you are standing in front of Jonas Baldwin's monument, which is close to the history sign that's on the street, and you look off to the right and about 2/3 of the way down to the river, that's where his stone is. He's the first one buried in the cemetery and donated the land for the cemetery. So this stone, this is Deborah Selleck. And when we first saw it, this is exactly what we saw. It looked like it had been in a fire, like carbon from a fire. A lot of moss, there was even more moss on the other side, but this just positively black, couldn't see a thing. So we started just spraying the stone and walking away. Absolutely didn't touch it with anything other than plastic scraper on the base only. And again, that's on another limestone, I'm sure. I also believe if you take a look at the way it's cut over here, cut the same way, I think this is Mr. Blanchard's work. And I don't have any way of proving it. That's why I'd like to get a hold of the Blanchard family, because they may have records. I think it would be neat to know. But you can tell certain monuments are cut, different monument cutters will use a different technique. And this is fairly consistent with Harrington's, with Frazee, Selleck, Howe's, and several others that are over there. This stone is actually white marble, but if you look here, this is a gray or blue marble. It is beautiful in person. You'll see up in the cathedral, there's still a lot of black, which you can actually see a little bit better over here. And that's because the weather doesn't hit that portion. And I'm not going to go up inside there and scrub. I don't want to take responsibility for that. And I think that over time, every time I go over, I spray it a little bit more, comes a little bit cleaner. So this stone is absolutely beautiful. It's one of the prettiest that are over there.
How tall is it?
Well,
Like when you go underneath it, are you?
so the top of the cathedral is probably about here up inside. To spray the urn on the top, I had to pick days that it wasn't windy. And then I have an electric pump sprayer, and it'll shoot about 12 feet. And I kind of had to aim right.
Right.
Yes, ma'am.
Explain how that the stone absorbs the D2 or endurance, and that the rain and the snow reactivates it,
Mm-hmm.
so that it keeps working continually.
And that's a big important piece of this. Like we might think, well, we're going to put this on. So, for example, if you're looking at the weather forecast, and you're thinking, oh, it's going to be good today, but it's going to rain tomorrow. I would not waste my D2 or my endurance today. I like to see it go full 24 hours without any rain in the forecast. Then after that, it allows everything to kind of sit and get in the stone. And after that, every time it rains, it washes a little more away. So the Jonas Baldwin monument, I have sprayed, but I have not scrubbed it. It looks like at some point in time, somebody either sprayed it, wiped it with something, I'm not sure what. If you're coming like from the village heading out, you can see like, it looks like somebody went like this. And I don't know what it is, but eventually that'll blend in. I've sprayed it, let it do its thing.
We've never scrubbed this other than
Never.
straightening up like the moss. It's never been scrubbed, it's just been sprayed.
Yep. Yeah. And in person, it's just, I drive down, if I go to Tops and I'm coming back home, this one sticks right out now. And some of their neighbors will too. Frazee's and Harrington's will, Wrights are over there, theirs will as well. And those three monuments are very similar. That's, where is it? This one. There's three over there that are very similar to this. The Tops might be a little bit different, but this should do the same thing. Okay, so these are really unique stones. And when we talk about symbolism in stonework, trees and limbs cut off signify life cut too short, too soon. And so Margaret Bigelow and Hannah Gladwell Campbell. Margaret's stone, we have not cleaned at all. That's not been touched. A little shot of spray, that was it. And this stone is still, you see how it's a little bit orangey? The cleaner is still working. That stone was absolutely black when I started. And so little by little, it's coming around and we can read her name now. And I think that is important. So this is the Kinney stone. And again, you know, my picture taking, I'm not all that fabulous, but it's a little bit blurry, but you get the idea. I couldn't even tell what kind of stone this was. Had no idea it was marble. But this is coming along pretty well. And then here's symbolism. How are we doing on time? Doing okay. Okay. So symbolism on headstones. Judy and I bought this little book. And so, you know, it looks like it's done for elementary students. And it may very well be. But I thought it explained things very well. What doves mean, the lambs, of course, most of us are familiar seeing lambs in the cemeteries on children's graves, or young people. We do have some over there with urns with the mourning shroud on them they're beautiful. And they are slightly behind. So if you're going in to the right of the building and you look to the right, the first big family plot is Otis Bigelow's family. And then if you go the next road over, you'll see some of these with the mourning shroud on them that are gorgeous. You wonder how they carved them. So this talks about ivy, symbol of eternal life and love. So that's Mrs. Bigelow's stone. And then bells, weeping willows. We have a lot of weeping willows over here on some stones. And I don't know if I have any in this presentation, but there's probably, I would say, maybe 2 out of every 10 have weeping willows on them. And then we have some of the organizations and their symbols. And I'm not going to pretend to be an expert on this because I will get them all screwed up and then somebody will correct me. So feel free if anybody wants to talk about any of these in particular. But the Masons, if I didn't get that one right, my father would probably kill me. It's the only one I know. No, I know Daughters of American Revolution. So, and I apologize, I couldn't get this to come off the screen. But these are some of the symbols that you'll see. The Oddfellows, 3 links. Sometimes you'll just see 3 links and no initials in them. But that's kind of neat. And then we have the Elks. Okay, so we talked about the stones that I found under what was my old shed when they were getting ready to build my little pole barn. Imagine my surprise at this one. And I yelled stop 1 second too late. And this is what happened. I had planned on bringing this stone with me tonight, but after I hauled it all up and put it on the back porch, it's all kind of frozen together. I couldn't lift it. So I couldn't bring it tonight. But this will give you an idea. So first of all, these 2 ladies, they're little girls. They are buried in Plainville. I called Judy right after finding the stone and said, here's their names, don't know who they are, this is all I can read, don't know where the rest of the stone is. And in 15 or 20 minutes time, she told me right where to find them, and I went flying up to Plainville. And I did find their stone, and so this was either one that was carved and they never took, or one that they decided they didn't need, or there may have been a mistake on it. Interesting though to see how clean that marble is inside. And I am going to glue this stone back together. I've got the right stuff to do it properly, and I'm going to fix this. And it'll end up in my yard because that's where it is. This stone, Julia, we had a couple of trees that came down, I think it was last year or the year before, in like the old section of the cemetery. And unfortunately, a tree took her out. And if you see here a rock, if that rock hadn't have been there, this stone might have survived. We may be able to put her back together again. I don't know yet. But when you look at how clean that marble is, and these are pretty clean cuts here, we might be able to fix it. So.
When you clean it, will it be as white as the inside?
Eventually, yes. Or very close to it, yeah.
Oh, yeah, looks funny. The name looks like Evelyn?
I'm trying to read the names on the left.
This one is EVEL.
Evelyn?
I think it's Evelyn.
Line.
Emmeline. The Emmeline is over here.
Yeah.
But this one, what does this one say?
Evelyn?
Evelyn?
Line, I think.
Yeah, because that looks like LYNE. And I don't.
Evelyn?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're sisters. You're welcome. So here are just a couple of pictures from the Atlas Preservation 48 State Tour that we went on. And I thought this was very interesting because we have a lot of slotted bases over in our cemetery, and the stones are out of them and they're laying near them. Some can be fixed. This base is in pretty good shape. Some can't be fixed and you really need to pour a new base. But what John Appel is using here is pointing mortar, historic pointing mortar, not concrete. So I think that's an important distinction when it comes to this type of work. It allows the stone to behave the way that it's supposed to. The chemicals in concrete are not kind to marble particularly, and this is a marble base. And then over here, we were setting a stone. I wish I had the angle better, but I didn't. We were setting a stone back in the base by hoisting it up and then lowering it back down into the slot.
That was in Connecticut?
Yeah. No, this is Vermont.
Good, Vermont.
This is Vermont, yeah. So that is it for the slideshow, but I did want to share something. I'm going to turn the lights on. Fair warning. Everybody give your eyes time to adjust, right? Some of the things that I have over here, I think you might find really interesting. One, a map of the cemetery. If you've not seen this map before, this is important, especially if you're using Find a Grave. So Find a Grave will have initials in it. It'll say RV or RS. RV is Riverview, RS is Riverside. If it says Old Yard that's buried within Riverside, there's no numbers on Old Yard. It just says Old Yard. So it's really hard to find anybody in there, but it's not a huge space either. So what you'll see on this is mostly to the right-hand side is Riverside and the rest is all Riverview. So that area where the grass is really nice, will this work over here? Oh, it will. I don't have a cat to play with on these things, so this is my first day out with it. This is where that grass is really neat, all in this area. So then I have before and after pictures, and some of these are a little more recent, the slides are a little more recent than what these are, but it'll give you an idea of what we've done with some of them. And then from a supply standpoint, and Mary, I'm going to stand in front of you, and I apologize. I want to just share a couple of things with everyone. If you're going to be cleaning headstones, get yourself a 5-gallon bucket. It works great to carry all of your junk in, but it works as a seat. And I was using a 5-gallon bucket. It was a Home Depot one. It was very bright. And I was seated on it, and I went to move a little bit, and I tipped over, and my feet were in the air, and I was flat on my back, and I was hoping that nobody saw me going down Tappan Street. And I was really glad I didn't hit my head. But I found this thing, and I saved this just to show you guys. It's a silent spin seat. This will fit on top of your bucket. Look. Spins around. So if your bucket's in a good spot, you're not going to lose it. This came from Home Depot. And this was so the bucket came from Tractor Supply. And I like the handle on this bucket. And I like that it has a little handle here. But this came from Home Depot. You could probably get them anywhere, hardware store. But it was in a weird spot. It was in where the chisels are. I'm not sure why. I happened to be walking by and I thought, oh, I need that. That's perfect. And then, let's see. Let me just pick some of these up and I can show you. Because this is good stuff. Okay. So, scrapers. No metal scrapers, right? So we got plastic that is very flexible. And the plastic scrapers will start to wear down. This one has. They'll wear down, but they won't hurt the stone. Sometimes I use wood shims. They work really well too. And they'll wear down, but they work great on getting moss out of like tight places. This little brush came from Atlas Preservation. Actually, almost everything I have did. It's kind of like a toothbrush. You can feel it up here if you want. It's a little tougher. I don't think I want to brush my teeth with it. And then this brush, I love. This is a fender brush. It is cracked because I kind of dropped it. Not planning to. But it suds up really well when you want to scrub stuff. And it's natural bristle. It will not hurt the stones. So it's perfect. It's just what you want. These are relatively inexpensive. Like, I thought they were going to be wicked expensive. The most expensive thing was the D2. I will say Atlas Preservation doesn't carry D2 anymore. They carry Endurance, Gravestone, and Monument Cleaner. I have used that. I went through 4 gallons of it this fall. It does an amazing job. It's a little less expensive than D2. But it's your personal preference on what you like to use. Either one of them. I would buy, so the Endurance I would buy through Atlas Preservation. I don't even know if it's carried anywhere else. The D2, we do.
Local? Like this place that you keep saying?
They're Connecticut, but they ship really fast. And
Amazing customer service.
They are just top notch. Judy put together some references both on cleaning supplies and just research in general, and we printed them out so you guys can take them home with you if we run out. I do have a Facebook page. It's Stone Angels CNY, and I post some of my stuff out there, cleaning of stones, that type of thing. Sometimes I'll do like an updated walk through the cemetery so you can see how the stones have come clean. Now this piece, I thought it looked like a magic eraser.
Yeah.
It's not, it's a glass block. And it's a glass block, and you can use this. It actually starts out like a brick. And this is how it got worn down cleaning one big stone. Do not use them on marble. Fabulous, fabulous on even polished granite. Takes the mess right off of them. And it doesn't like suds or anything, but you can feel it and play with it if you want. It's kind of icky. And then I have these things to talk about. So it's a sample of the Endurance product. You can get it in a little bottle. You can get it in like a pump bottle like Windex. You can get it in a quart, a gallon, 5 gallons. I buy them by the gallon because I'm not lifting 5 gallons of liquid and trying to aim to get it into something I can use it with. Full strength. Yeah, this comes full strength. Both products do. And I should tell you, I'm not getting paid anything by them. They don't even know I'm here talking about this tonight. So when they find out, if they find out, be kind.
Why would they be upset?
I wouldn't think that they would be. But yeah, this, so I did 37 stones out of a gallon, regular size stones. That's, I think, the big question that people have, right? This is another one of those brushes that kind of looks like a toothbrush. You don't want to put it in your mouth, but that works great too in the lettering. And then this is this is non-natural. This is a Magnolia brush company, so it's one of the few brush companies left in the country. But this works really well too on granite. Suds up a little bit differently than what the natural bristle does, but kind of handy and easy to hold on to. Probably the biggest thing, and I've seen people that'll, you want to buy like a sprayer that works well to spray water and product, right? So you need 2 sprayers. I bought this sprayer at Runnings. It was $9.99. There's nothing wrong with it. You put the product in, you pump it up, you press the button. Except it has a constant on button. And I was wasting a lot of product. So if you decide to get one of these, be sure it doesn't have this. It also doesn't have a pressure release on it. This sprayer I ordered from Atlas Preservation. And actually I think I bought this when we were in Vermont, I think. Yeah. And you pump it all up. It has a nice little trigger here, but over here it has a pressure release valve. So you can release the pressure to take the lid off to clean it and store your product. I also use a big garden sprayer, and I didn't bring it in tonight because it was raining like mad and my buggy was full and life wasn't that good. Atlas has and other people may, if you guys know of this, please shout it out. It's a battery-powered pump top. It goes on the top of a pump sprayer that'll hold like a gallon or 2 gallons. You push the button, it pressurizes it. And then all you have to do, so you're not killing your arm doing this thing or killing your hand squirting like this, you push the button, it comes up to pressure, and out comes your product or your water. So I don't know if anybody local has those, but I know they run, they're like between $75 and $100. Yeah, if you are going to do a lot of cleaning or you have other things around your house that you want to use it for, because you can use these products on siding to get rid of mildew and all that kind of thing, you might want to consider that thing. It was an investment well made.
Yes, packages are
Pardon me?
John has packages available.
Oh, yeah.
Different groups.
Yeah, so if you go out, and that website's on some of this documentation, if you go out there, you'll be able to see what they have. Reach out to me if you have any questions, or if I can help you with, any of your own stones or things that you might, see while you're out there going through cemeteries. I'm very interested in all of it. I'm not going to volunteer Judy to to come along to help, but but I love to do it. And I've got some time on my hands, so I'd be glad to. What questions? Right.
You have to take, oh, go ahead.
Nope, you're good.
Oh, no,
You're good.
do you have to take any kind of educational courses or training to become proficient in this?
Well, it's good to have some training. It's not necessary. It's not, there's no big rule out there that says you have to, but I would not want to dive into this without having some training. I have done some training over here at the cemetery based on what we've been doing, and I'm comfortable with doing that. You know, it's something that you don't want to dive into other people's property, and their headstones are their property, without knowing what you're doing.
You get permission from the family of who you're, I mean.
I got
some of those
permission,
are-
yeah.
Some of those are very old, so
Yeah.
how do you go about?
So
I'm
the
a new 1854 guy. you
Right.
know.
So when I started, I went to Tom. I actually chased Tom down at the cemetery, the poor guy. I chased him down and I'm like, are you Tom? No, no, Tom's over there. Okay, so off I went and got Tom and I introduced myself and told him, you know, the training I've had, what I was doing. He asked me about my products, et cetera, to get that permission. And I think that's really important. I have seen people over there using brass brushes, thinking that they're cleaning their family stones and doing a service to them. And in the long run, like it might take the stuff off real quick, but in the long run, it's scratching the surface and it's just gonna decimate the stone. So, Steve?
I just, the other observation is sometimes you'll also encounter metal ones that are like military plaques. Those you don't use D2 on.
No.
Those actually got a separate like cleaning solution and like polish that you put on them to clean those. Don't put D2
Right,
on your copper plate, bronze markers.
yeah, thank you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the only other thing.
We're talking stone only.
Right, but you'll come across sometimes there'll be like a complement of both. Sometimes they're
Yeah.
attached even onto the back of the stone.
Yeah,
I just wanted to ask about composition. The two things that you mentioned pretty frequently were the limestone, of course, and the marble. And what other components have you run into that tombstones were made of?
so I missed putting this picture in here and I wished I had. We actually have an obelisk over here for the Vosberg family that is limestone and you can see the fossils in it. It's amazing. But there's granite, there's brownstone, slate. We actually have some markers over there that just look like fieldstone. Oh yeah, and zinc. Zinc, so everybody's probably familiar by now with our Soldiers and Sailors monument over in the cemetery that, you know, our little sentry at the top took a tumble. That's a zinc monument. And those are, or they might call them white bronze. They're actually hollow, like a hollow Easter bunny. They're hollow and they're kind of bolted together. And there may be an armature in there to kind of keep it together. I would not clean one of those with any of these products. And truthfully, I've never seen one that needed to be cleaned. The elements don't stick to them. Go ahead, Steve.
It's naturally antibacterial.
Yes.
It has an antimicrobial.
Yeah. Steve?
Yeah, I do have a question, but before I ask it, how many monuments have you cleaned in Riverview Cemetery since you started?
Over 300?
Okay, so before I ask any more questions, think about that for a second. 300 monuments in Riverview Cemetery, what a service, and I just want to thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. It's,
You did such a good job, we recruited her to the cemetery board, which is not necessarily a reward.
sign me up. No, it's been an honor to work on them and it's very gratifying to be able to walk, drive by or walk through and see the difference that it makes. And I think if I were that person, I would be very grateful that somebody was taking care of me, so.
The question I wanted to ask was, and I don't want to put Bruce on the spot, but the Barnes family was in the monument business for how many years, Bruce? Many.
How many years have you been in the business?
29 years on Water Street.
So I want to go back to the first part of your story and the monuments you discovered in your home, in your property.
Yeah.
And I just wondered whether Bruce or you have a hypothesis about they're fully carved, they're ready to go, why they ended up in your yard and weren't put to use in the cemetery. So whoever wants to go first.
Do you have any ideas on who they
I'm curious to see what he says.
Were not used.
Okay, I was told by Don Florida, the funeral director, years ago, his dad, when he had his funeral home on Grove Street, as well as Blanchard,
Yeah.
those monuments were Jabe's mistakes. Wrong name, wrong date, misspelled name. So he had them in the yard that you showed.
Yep,
And then as years passed, a young family came into my business, I forget how many years ago, and they had purchased that property. And they were using a rototiller, because over the years they had dirt in them. And what they wanted to do was put in a garden or build a deck or whatever. And they got scared when they saw the memorials that you had the pictures on. They thought that was a cemetery. And they come over to me, and I remember what Don Filardo's dad had told Don, and Don in turn had mentioned it to me. Those were mistakes, so I said, no, if anything, you could have those for your patio in the backyard. Put it together, it'd be a unique patio, you know, so. But that's, if that answers the questions about the stones. And
Yeah, absolutely.
That's what I was told from
Thank you.
Florida, so.
yeah, it's interesting, the history of that property, and even, so, that, my house burned down, the original house, January 26th of 2006. And it was devastating, absolutely devastating. I felt like I was rooted in that spot. I didn't know where I was gonna go and what I was going to do. And I went out and I stood under the big maple tree out back, and I looked at what was left of my house, and I thought, I'm rebuilding. But in order to rebuild, I needed to save my grandmother's ferns that I had transplanted and brought with me from Western New York, and I needed to save the headstones. My brother-in-law was not happy about this. He has moved these headstones multiple times. I had some of the curbing I had along the driveway up until last year, and I thought, nope, I want to move it inside the fence. I want it to be part of my, I have windows in my home office that look into the backyard, and I wanted it to be kind of the border of my flower bed. It might hold the ferns in because they're going crazy. And I thought that'll be good. So I recruited my brother-in-law again, and a young friend who said, oh, I could pick these up and move them. Oh, okay, you go ahead and do that. And bless their hearts, they got all of these stones moved. And I was told that that was the last time they were moving stones. So when I get Emmeline and we think Evelyn repaired, I'll have to move that one myself, which means maybe I should carry it in pieces, repair it on the spot. And then I have another base that's probably maybe this big by this big, but you're talking 4 or 5 inches thick of marble, super heavy. I want to move that, and that'll complete my walkway that goes from my back door all the way in my little barn. And I'll have flowers all along the side, and you know, I really was torn about putting these face up or putting them face down. Right? Am I doing something wrong by putting them face up? And I came to the conclusion that I'm going to live in that house until they carry me out on a stretcher. And then my nephew gets the house, and he knows the story, so he'll be okay with that. So face up it is. So I think it goes with the story of the property. I am in the process of trying to document everything about the property. The Blanchard family, there were actually 3 homes on Grove Street that the Blanchards lived in, 15, 24, and 30. So Sidney Blanchard moved from 24 to 30, and then James R. moved, stayed in 24. So it's kind of interesting that it's Grove Street and not Blanchard Avenue. But I thought it was really, really cool. An interesting way to get into all this, and something I've loved doing. What are the questions? Yes?
Who do you go to for permission?
I went directly to Tom Beck. So you go right to the office of the cemetery. If you're going for our cemetery, for example, if you're going to another cemetery, contact the caretaker or the cemetery office.
So it's not a matter of going to the family?
You can and should if you're doing somebody else's stone and their family is still alive. It's not a bad practice to do that, but I also think the cemetery needs to know what you're doing. And I think because the laws are really, there are a lot of gray areas with that. So you might find a monument company is well known by the cemetery. They're going to be able to go in and do whatever they have to do to take care of a monument. But I will caution, there are startup businesses that are all over the internet. Everybody thinks that they can clean a headstone. Be very careful if you hire one of those to go in to clean your headstones to make sure that they know what they're doing. Pressure washing, absolutely not. I would not pressure wash. And you know, some cemeteries might go, they may have somebody on staff that says, hey, who are you? Who do you have permission from? Whatever. I would make sure that you got permission from both if it's a stone that you don't own yourself. It's not your own family.
We've been mostly concentrating on the older stones in the old yard and the old cemetery.
Yeah.
She breaks down when she sees the lambs and the babies, and she goes nuts for those. And I head towards the
Yeah.
Civil War veterans.
Yeah.
And then doing those.
Yeah. So we've done a lot, and then you can't do the veteran stone and not do the family. So you know it becomes this snowball effect, and so
Mostly ones that there wouldn't be anything.
yeah.
Now, I understand most of the veteran stones are marble,
Yes,
and that's supposed to be the softest
it is.
stone.
Yes.
So, I think you have to be very careful not to
Yeah.
scratch it, right?
Yeah.
The wrong product will cause it to do what they call sugaring. And it's like, it goes back to sand.
You see that on some, naturally on some.
Yeah, and that we have seen that on a lot of marble. The other thing that I would caution, so I have skewers up here, and I will use those on some stones, but I'm really careful about using a skewer on marble because it can scratch the marble, and those bamboo skewers are pretty tough. So usually I will stick to like a wood shim to get like in a crease. That works really well and it doesn't do any damage. Marble is probably the softest, and for that reason, probably, in my estimation, one of the most important to get that biologic growth off of first. Because the longer it stays on there, the worse it is for the stone. So if anybody wants to help me anytime, you join my Facebook page, Stone Angel CNY. I post on there when I'm going out to clean, or if you see some crazy woman with I usually have a big pink, or not a pink, a blue wagon, and a crazy tie-dye on, and why do I wear a tie-dye? So that people can find me. If I'm on this bucket, you know it's me. But yeah, stop by. I've had a lot of people stop. It's been nice because you know a lot of people walk their dogs through there, take walks through the cemetery. So a lot of people have stopped just to ask questions and kind of learn a little bit more about it. And I welcome that. So if you see me, stop, say hello, yell over the fence, whatever. Yes.
Well, my question is, does whatever's on the stone depend on where you are? Like, because you're near the water here,
Mm-hmm.
that would be different than, say,
Yeah.
Oakwood Cemetery, that's right in the
Yes.
city.
So it is very environmental, the things that attach to stones. One of the bigger problems, I think, are, you know, there's pine trees look beautiful in a cemetery, but the sap gets on those stones, and it is awful. Some stones are more prone to lichen, and some of that lichen that
That's what creates a lot of lichens you showed us on the screen there.
yeah,
The sap carries too. There may not be any trees where your particular stone is. The trees may be way over there, but the wind carries that sap. And that's true in just about any cemetery.
yeah, that's probably the biggest, I think the biggest problem.
Yeah.
So,
I sprayed that lichen, that white lichen, it's hard like a shell almost. You can't just scrape it off. Sprayed it with D2, went back a couple of days later, 3 days later, and just scraped off like it was soft moss.
yeah. And probably the most important thing too to remember, like if you're spending $50 on a gallon of D2, and you know, you don't want to waste it, right? So you don't necessarily have to keep spraying D2 on it. Once you've got the D2 on it, it's saturated, you can reactivate it with water and always work with a wet stone and a wet brush. It will work just as well as if you were spraying the D2 on it directly. And I don't use as much D2 as I did when I first started cleaning them because I thought I really had to go crazy with it. You don't really. It's enough to just coat that stone and then let it sit. And I'll usually work in groups of like maybe 5 or 6. So I'll spray them all with D2 and then I'll go back to the beginning, give it a shot with water, and then start working my way through all of those stones. And then I rinse them all off, spray them lightly with D2 and walk away. except for the 37 that I did in October that I can't wait to see what they look like. They're from Jonas Baldwin. So if you're looking at the river, Baldwin Monument's in front of you, about halfway down the river and maybe 4 rows over, all of those stones I sprayed with Endurance Monument Cleaner and walked away. So I'm hoping that maybe the little fairies will come and clean the stones for spring. This weather, you know, night like tonight's perfect for those stones. Loves the rain. Loves the rain. I was going up Tappan Street and it was raining like mad one night, and I looked and you could actually see orange washing down these stones. And I'll tell you what, if that didn't scare the neighbors when I first started doing this, they came over. Excuse me, who are you? What are you doing? And introduce myself. You know, this is what we do. And now seeing the difference, and you can actually week by week see the difference in them. So.
How long does it take you for any particular stone, start to finish?
Well, it's
like the before after picture.
Oh, the before and after, usually I would say 30 days you'll start to see a big difference on one stone. Depends on the stone, it depends on the weather, it depends on the wind, because wind helps all that too, and wind-driven rain is even better. But I would say like 30 days, usually by 90 days, you can really see a difference. So if you look up here on some of these, this one, let me see if I can do this without blocking it. This one down here is Laumeister's. So that is, again, drive into the right of the building, and they are on the right-hand side, Maggie Remsen and Laumeister's. This stone was positively black. I sprayed it, did a little bit of scrubbing. A month later, that's what it looked like. So it is pretty cool. Yeah.
Now, do you prefer one product over another? I mean, is one easier to work with, cheaper?
So as far as cost goes, D2 is more expensive. D2 is about $55 with shipping. Endurance, I think, is like between $36 and $40 with shipping. They work essentially the same. I really liked D2, loved the way it worked, wasn't sure I wanted to switch, but I did, and I do still have, you know, a case of D2 at home, and I'll probably still buy it when I can get it on sale. But the Endurance works just as well, cheaper price. They smell about the same, like they don't smell like chemicals, they smell like...
There's no odor?
Yeah, well, they say no odor, but I will tell you, when I smell this smells like spring to me. But
What is actually in those cleaners? What chemical, what is in it, how does it work?
So it's a biologic solution, so it only kills the biologics. And you can take a look, the safety sheets are out online for those. Take a look at them. I did take a look at both of them. I did not bring them with me today because I didn't think, we're doing really well on time, aren't we? I didn't think I was gonna have enough time to talk. But both are very similar from a composition standpoint. There's more of a surfactant in the Endurance. And so I found that suds it up a little bit more. I don't know if it really does any difference. Like, you know, you can have cleaning supplies that suds and don't suds, but they both clean, right? But it does stick to the stone, I think, a little bit better. And for that reason, I like it. I like it a lot. But if somebody were to put, you know, one in one container and one in the other, and I had to clean stones with them, at the end of the day, if you did a split down the middle of a stone and one was done with one and one with the other, you wouldn't know the difference. So, and both are safe for groundwater.
Is it acidic or basic?
I don't know the answer to that,
What was the question?
whether it's acidic or basic. I'm not a chemist.
Because I'm thinking one
I was thinking it's got some ammonia in it.
Yeah.
the stone.
Yeah.
It's got ammonia with a buffered solution.
Yeah, but I'm not qualified, I'm not a chemist, I'm not gonna get into the details of what's in the actual product itself. You can take a look at them, the labels are on here, you can take a look at them. I think it's a quaternary ammonia.
Yes.
That's the words I was.
Yeah, but if you're gonna ask me how that works, I don't know. I can tell you that it works great. So, and D2 has been used on national monuments for many years. That is, you know, you go to Arlington, they're spraying that on and walking away, they're not scrubbing. That's how they're keeping those stones so white and bright. So,
Your work is very good.
thank you so much. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Thank you. So, any other questions? Let me know. Look me up, find me. I'm glad to help you with any of your stones. Thank you all so much.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Huh?
I like your work.
I just want to remind people,
Thank you.
if you have not renewed your membership, please do so.
I appreciate it.
I just joined last meeting, was it November, December?
Yay.
And then an hour, it's
I don't
over a
think
year.
so. No, I think you're good, I think you're good for years.
So I got a notice of how I go.
We'll send out a word.
Our next meeting is going to be March 3rd.